Yeah, let me tell you about the ones they tried to hide. The heroes in the shadows who stood up with pride. Shirley Chisholm, first black woman in Congress. Unboard and unbossed, paved the way for generations, no matter the cost. Bayer Rustin organized the march in Washington, you see. Behind the scenes, architect of equality. Claudette Colvin, 15 years old, refused to give up a seat. 9 months before Rosa, but history incomplete. Annie Lee Cooper stood in line to vote, got punched in the face. But she fought back, wouldn't let him put her in a place. Dorothy Heights, civil rights queen for 6 decades strong. Fighting for women's rights, righting every wrong. Bessie Coleman, first black woman pilot to fly. Broke barriers in the sky, reaching way up high. Robert Abbott founded the Chicago Defender, spread the news.
So it is your time now to put your story out there so that you can show and inspire, bring hope, inspire others, black women, women of color across this country that, hey, this is what I was able to do so that you can do the same thing or do it better. So that's the whole principle behind this season 1. And I'll probably get some pushback from the men like, well, you know why? I'm not trying. Well, it's my show. I can do whatever I want to do.
That part.
That part. Let's not forget that part. I'm going to do whatever I want. And it's important, Shamika, because black women are unprotected, unrepresented, and unprotected in this country.
Yeah, I was trying to listen to you talk, but it is such, it's so real. I'm a black woman in America and I feel very unprotected, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then on top of that, I'm a single black woman, which is a whole other dynamic, right? Of feeling unprotected, and having to face the world on a daily basis, alone. Yes, I do have a fantastically powerful, supportive family behind me, in terms of my sisters and my dad and my niece and nephews. But I don't have children either. So I literally face the world on my own. And having to navigate college, having to navigate, corporate landscape and just trying to figure that out 26 years ago, starting the corporate landscape and being, the first graduate from my parents, right? And not having anybody who could walk me through what to do in college or in corporate America. And it's such a challenge that many of us have had to face who are in our age bracket right now, right? What are we, millennials, Generation X, right?
Yeah, Gen X. Mm-hmm.
And, think about that, and some people don't even realize that we are literally one generation away from people who picked cotton. And I had to make that real to somebody and having a conversation, talking about, the civil rights movement was so long ago and the mistreatment of black people was so long ago. I'm like, do you realize my father picked cotton and tobacco in South Carolina? My father's 82 years old. My father's aware of people who've been lynched. So, and the implications and how society impacts black people and black people of my father's generation to now me being, the person and the woman that I am today, having to be resilient and always adjust to whatever is going on at the moment in time in history. So it's a struggle every day being out here as a black woman in America. And just, we're trying to live our best lives, period.
That's right.
And we don't care about what anybody is doing, but people just seem to want to always find a way to target and take away. And I understand why we are the target.
Right.
It's because we have always been the backbone of our community. From the original times biblically up until the present day. And it's, if you could take away the power of a black woman, you take away the power of her community. You take away the history. You take away the support system. So if you could undermine a woman and you can undermine a black woman and take away any semblance of what you believe is her power, which some people think is only financial, but they don't even understand.
Right.
Our power comes from a higher power, the highest power, right?
That's right. Which
enforces us and enables us to do the things that we need to do without somebody trying to train us to do these things. So, we get into what those types of things are, but it's tough, having to be out here and be the one that everybody leans on in the workplace and the family. Whether you're a single person in the family, you still are auntie.
That's right.
You still are a sister girl to these friends of yours in your sister circles, and
That's
you
right.
know the organizations you may be a part of. So you know we still touch so many things, whether we are single or whether we are married or whether we have children. We are easily vulnerable in these United States.
Mm, mm. Girl, you done said a mouthful already. I'm gonna tell you something, but you said the word, you used the word backbone,
Mhm,
and I've often said, I've often heard, behind every strong black man is a strong black woman. So that identifies to me as, yet, yes, the backbone, not taken away from strength of the man,
mhm,
but the support,
mhm.
the unwavering support that we get as from our black women is unmeasurable anywhere across the board. But when you start to think about the word backbone, what does that mean to you personally or historically?
Mm. It's so much there, so many layers, right? The layers of the black woman and being the backbone. You know, if we think about it historically, you know, we could think about, you know, the communities that we are in, the movements, the institutions, whether you are a black woman who, you know, might be an at-home mom,
Right.
to the woman who is in corporate America, to the sisters at church, to the sisters that's on the different lines in the D9, right?
Mhm.
And other civic black organizations, right? We historically do this work and don't really focus on people like recognizing us, right? We
Mm.
do what's within our heart and what's in our spirit.
Right.
We have sustained the church, we have anchored the family, we love on people who not kin to us,
Mm.
right? Like think about the women in your life, right? You
True.
know, and we think back to slavery. In slavery, those sisters, those mothers, excuse me, let me give them the respect that they are due. Those mothers who were stripped from Africa, who took the Middle Passage and kidnapped and were brought here and put on the auction block,
Mm.
became the mother to people who she didn't know.
Mm.
And here we are 400 years later, still mothering on people like our foremothers did back in the day. So from the slave ships to the White House, where we think about Kamala Harris, right? We
Right.
have continued to love on from the civil rights movement to the politics. You know, just really, what do we do? You know, personally, I think about my grandmother, you know, how she was the spiritual anchor of the family.
Hmm.
Everybody in the community would go to my grandmother's house. My grandmother lived on an old dirt road most of my life.
Mm.
The non-black people would show up to her house for prayer, you know,
What?
because she was renowned for prayer. Because my grandmother would go into the room, and I'm digressing a little bit, but um, my grandmother was she lived to be about 95 years old.
Oh my.
My grandmother came to our house when I was a child, and she went into my room and she said, "I'm going to go in the room and go pray." Now, all I saw is my grandmother go into my bedroom, close the door, and then I started hearing, "Hallelujah, thank you." You know, I heard
Mm,
stomping.
mm,
I
mm,
heard my grandmother's in my room shouting, clapping, praying, calling on the name of God.
mm, mm,
And
mm.
and I heard my grandmother, as old as she was, calling on the names of everybody in our family,
Whoa.
right? And if she met somebody, she'd call on your name before God.
Mm.
She had her special room in her house that she would go in and pray in. So she was that anchor for our family. And when she passed away, we always like, who gonna pray for us now?
Mm, mm,
Ooh,
mm.
girl, you gotta pray for yourself. But she was spiritually the anchor that was the foundation of faith in God in our family. You know, and you know, she was saved from like a child. I think she
Right.
told me she's like 13 is 15, something like that.
Wow.
Um, and then you think about the backbone. My mother's example of that was my mother did what I call a silent acts and
Okay.
has a silent legacy. And and I realized that's really about us being the backbone.
Hmm.
And when my mother passed, you know, I knew we had a pretty good family, a large family. And I was like, who are these people?
Right.
All these people who showed up at my mom's funeral and wake services and stuff were telling me, your mother did this. Your
Mm.
mother prayed with me. Your mother gave me money. Your mother bailed me out of jail, right?
Mm.
um, Your mother cooked for me one of the best meals I've had in my life.
Mm.
Your mother inspired me to not take abuse. So I found out all of these things that my mother was doing, and I was like, huh, I just thought she
Mm.
was my mother.
Right.
But it
Mm.
was more to that backbone of being a Black woman in America. And if we even tapped into corporate America, Black women in corporate America is a painful place for a Black woman to be. It,
Wow.
it could be very isolating,
Mm-hmm.
it can be very lonely, especially if you do actually rise to the higher levels. So
Wow.
you rise and rise to these higher levels after years, and you're by yourself, and people always find a way to attack you and want to dismiss you, and you have to fight. Um, in corporate America. And so, these sisters that I've gotten to know, many Black women who are senior leaders, various industries, and political offices, etc.,
Mm-hmm.
who mentor, guide, coach other sisters to help lift each other up and teach us what it means to lift as we rise.
Okay.
And those sisters who actually do it, because there is those sisters who, I don't want to say the name of that particular one that we all kind of know right now who's in politics, that,
Mm-hmm.
we say she's not one of us. She not like us.
Mm-hmm.
But the other sisters who really understand, we lift as you rise, build, in the community. We can do that. And it's possible to do that. I've been a leader to create an environment to lift people, to encourage people, to give us just a sense of community, because we go into these major companies.
Mm-hmm.
You have to look at the demographics of the United States, right?
Right.
The United States has 340 million people in the United States.
Okay.
Black women are about 21 million in the United States.
Mm.
Now, spread that out across the United States. Now, spread that out to all these different companies and these jobs that we all go to. What does that mean? You walk into this office and you are likely the only person who is of a darker hue.
Oh, goodness. Wow.
So you go in now,
Mm.
walking into corporate America or any job. It don't have to be corporate. It could be the ghettoest place you go to.
Mm.
But you can go in there and you don't know how to navigate because no one before you taught you the game.
Mm. Mm.
And you were just thinking, if I do my job well, I keep my head down, I stay out of trouble, they're gonna see me.
Mm.
Not necessarily. So it could be lonely in being in corporate America. So the sisters out there, we think about how do we build our community. It's a sister in New Jersey right now who's been building this fabulous community online through Facebook. I've been a part of an organization that looked into the pharmaceutical industry and started connecting Black women together. And I remember my manager, when they found out I was involved, they said, "Well, why did you feel the need to be there?" And I was like, I needed to be a part of this.
Right.
No,
Right.
they were like, well, did you need more development? We could have gave you more development. You can't develop me culturally
Right.
with cultural awareness and understanding of where I came from, because they don't understand really the unique experiences that we carry day to day as Black women in the corporate environment. And I'm gonna, you can bring me back when you're ready, but
No, you
just
do.
jump into 2020 when George Floyd was murdered. There was a leader in my company who said to me, "Well, Shamika, you should have been out here helping us do something. We should have positioned ourselves before today," because she heard about George Floyd. She was
Right.
trying to, be like this leader and, support the community.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, this has been going on for a couple of months now.
Mm.
And I was like, wow. And in that moment, I realized her privilege allowed her not to even know what was going on in the community.
Mm. Mm. Mm.
So while this person likes me, respected me, provided support, advocacy for me in the company, right?
Mm-hmm.
Didn't understand my journey. And I said to her, well, that didn't start a couple of months ago. I said, that didn't start a couple of years ago. I said,
Right.
this has never stopped for us in America. And
Mm.
she said, wow, I didn't know that. So that's the journey of people who have no clue of what does it even mean and don't even understand what they do. That's aligning to issues that keep me from advancing. The
Mm, mm.
pay equity issues, the
Oh yeah.
professional development issues. I'm not like you, so you're not comfortable with me
Mm,
because
mm.
we didn't culturally come up the same way. So I'm ready to go and do the wobble. You don't even know what a wobble is.
Wow.
We look at this from a funny perspective, right?
Yeah.
Because everybody want to be cool, right? Everybody want to be down with the cool part of being Black. What do they
Right.
say? They want the rhythm, but not the blues. But you really don't know. You don't know what my father went through to get us here to New Jersey. You
Mm.
don't know that my grandfather was a cropper who worked these fields for years, and at the end of the season, they wouldn't even give him enough money to barely feed the family for the next season.
My Lord.
You don't understand that's in the history.
Mm,
You
mm.
don't understand, like, oh, when I go to school and I go in the neighborhood, because I grew up in northern New Jersey in East Orange, and I went to high school in Newark.
Okay.
Yeah,
Mm.
they call it the bricks for a reason,
I know that's right.
right?
No, that's
So
right.
you don't know that, yeah, I had to walk past people smoking, drinking sometimes to get to school.
Mm,
While it might not have been in my house, it was down the street and around the corner when I
mhm,
went to the corner store. So people, they don't understand that. So,
mm.
to address your question and make sure we close that part out, the backbone of Black women, those are the examples. My mother, my grandmother, the women in corporate America who, in addition to having to deal with these struggles, then are given the hardest and most challenging assignments in the company. So I had a situation in the role that I was able to be in. I was able to be connected with all of the Black executives.
Okay.
And I observed that they had, like, they're talking at a town hall about these three Black women. And they were like, oh, this woman is going to do this and this woman is going to do that. And I'm like, wait a second. The success of the company is put on the back of this Black woman.
Mm.
So, they like to give us the challenges, the hardest projects. And then they like to hire us with the lowest titles and the minimal pay,
Minimal pay.
even though the
Mm.
data is showing that we are the most educated in the
Yes.
United States.
Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So
You
yeah, so
know,
I'll stop and let you chat a little bit because I
no,
can talk
no.
all day.
Listen. That is the whole point of this conversation. And you said something, and which really sparked something that spin in my head. I am thinking, and would you agree or would you disagree that when Black women, now let's look at the corporate America side of this.
Mhm.
In corporate America, do you feel as though a educated Black woman, and when she applies to said position, they know her credentials because it's on her resume. So there's things that they topically know about this individual as she comes into the company. But once she gets in there and she shows the slightest bit of ability to really shine, does she then become a threat? Do you think that she then becomes a threat to the powers that be? And that may be some of the reason why they try to keep their feet on a Black woman's neck while she's in in corporate America?
Yes and no.
Okay.
So the no is for corporations, all they care about, making money and profitability and ensuring that they deliver for the investors.
Mm-hmm.
What do they know about us is that we can get the job done.
Right.
We are agile and resilient.
Mm-hmm.
We are thinkers, and we balance the academic education versus the school of hard knocks and the education of our community and the
Right.
heritage and the legacy that's within us. And we bring that to bear with our jobs. And it brings a little bit of our heart to it as well, right? So they know I brought this lady on and she's gonna do it when nobody else can get it done. So they want you to get it done. Now, the leader who brings you in trusts you, believe in you, and wants you to get things done. But then it's not that necessarily that leader, but it could be your counterparts on the leadership team, on the team that you're working in,
Right. Right.
who then focus in on ways to try to undermine and attack. So, I mean, I've observed and witnessed this, and I myself probably have experienced a few things as well.
Hmm.
But, then they want to undermine you. And then sometimes you almost get set up because they always put you, and I call it, I was talking to these black women, I said, be careful of the cake that they're giving to you and take care of yourself.
Okay.
Don't forget to take care of yourself because they like to make a superwoman,
Right.
right? Um, but they also, with that, you get take the downfall if it don't go the way that they want it to go.
Hmm.
Now, a sister that I know who's a senior leader shared with me this article about, I think it's called bringing the, I think it's called carrying the water or carrying the bucket of water or something like that.
Okay.
High level leader asked them to come to the company. Leader says, I want you to do A, B, C, D, E, and F. The person
Okay.
said, okay, you sure you want me to do that? I'll come and do it. Sister shows up to the company. She starts doing A, B, C, D, E, and F because he told her to do it.
Hmm.
What he told her to do was to rock the boat a little bit. So she
Oh.
started rocking the boat and she was saying like, yeah, you should. She was like, well, this is what you told me to do. You sure you want me to do this? Yeah.
Okay.
She's rocking the boat. She's doing what he asked her to do to start. She came into the company. People start complaining.
Hmm.
Now, fast forward, leaders coming to this black woman and say, I don't know, this isn't working. I'm getting a lot of complaints. Hey, you told me coming to do A, B, C, D, E, and F. Are we still aligned? Because that's what I'm doing. I'm doing exactly what you told me. Yeah, but So now she's carried the water, but now you coming back to her and telling her that people are complaining about her when she's doing what you said to do.
Oh my goodness.
And now fast forward, what do they do to that woman? And these women, it's these women, right? Because it was an article that another woman sent to me.
Uh-huh.
And and I was like, wow, this is powerful. I
Hmm.
think it's called carrying the water.
Okay.
And now this woman is sitting there and they're offering her a severance package.
Oh my goodness.
So that's what can happen because they tell you to come in and rock the boat. They
Right.
tell you to come in and be innovative. They tell you to come in and be creative.
Hmm.
And then you scare the others and now you're disruptive and now they let you go.
Jeez. And then that makes me mad. That really infuriates me. That infuriates me. So tell me something, Shamika. Where do you think black women carry the most invisible weight today?
I think the invisible weight is the emotional and psychological work that we do.
Hmm.
I would say even the spiritual work that we do because
Okay.
it's invisible. Um, we do it everywhere.
Hmm.
We do it in every moment of our lives, pretty much, right? Um, and it can be invisible to everybody to recognize what you do. The sister who is at her job trying to help and support everyone that look like her, as well as those who don't,
Hmm.
because it's the right thing to do, right? In the community, we're out there, trying to make sure people are eating. We are out there making sure people are being clothed. We are out there making sure young kids are being mentored and guided to a future, right?
Right.
We're doing it all. We are in the churches praying with and for everyone. But we have to remind ourselves to take us to pause, reflect, and really think about how do we take care of ourselves because we're so focused on taking care of everything and everybody,
Right.
and neglecting our own well-being. And the burden of this, though, is that it affects our health.
Yes, it
Um,
does.
so I want to call out. We're in February. It's Black History Month, but it is also Heart Health Month.
Heart help. Yep. Yep.
And when you think about Heart Health Month, Black women have such high percentages of having cardiovascular disease. So like 59% Black women have some type of cardiovascular disease.
Wow.
They have high blood pressure, high cholesterol, risk of strokes, heart attacks. That's the repercussions of carrying so much as a Black woman, is it affects your body in those ways. Like, yeah, it doesn't help that you gonna eat some fried chicken and macaroni and cheese every day, right?
Right. That's true. That's true.
But that's part of it. You can adjust that, and still sometimes women come up with other diseases. And I remember me and a woman having a conversation about cancer,
Okay.
right? Is cancer coming to Black women, and how breast cancer is affecting Black women? Is that one of the things that's affecting us too? Because we're carrying so much,
Oh,
right?
yes.
That these different diseases, our bodies become weak because we are mentally, emotionally, and spiritually always at war. Your body doesn't have time. You haven't loved on yourself,
Mm.
and I'll be transparent because everybody out there knows, and I've talked about this pretty transparently on many platforms. But I myself had lung cancer and was diagnosed in 2022. And by the grace of God, it was caught early enough where I was able to be treated with surgery.
Right.
I'm one of the blessed ones, right?
Amen.
Because I don't know people who get lung cancer and are here almost 4 years later.
That's true.
So, breast cancer, lung cancer, ovarian cancer, etc. Not saying other women don't get this, but let's understand, like, what is the invisible weight of carrying your family, your church, your community, your mentees, your job. We have to really think about how are we taking care of ourselves, and pouring into ourselves in the same way in which we pour into everybody else around us. But it's almost ingrained in us from the beginning.
Jeez, that's yeah. You know what, Shamika? Also, I was sitting here thinking, you know, it's almost like a double-edged sword. You want to be reliable, you want to be counted on, but there's a cost to that. I believe there's a cost to being always the reliable one. What do you think some of that cost of always being reliable is?
Yeah, it's the exhaustion
Yeah.
and
Yes.
it's the self neglect. It's it's carrying the responsibilities, and you can carry responsibilities at a young age. So
I know.
think about little Black girls,
Right.
and sometimes the responsibility that little young Black girl carry. Again, I'll use myself as an example. Wasn't required financially, but I had my first job at 10 years old.
What?
I, 10 years old, I was the store manager at the salon my mother used to go to.
Whoa. Okay. Okay.
Me and one of my sisters got into debate. My sister didn't realize why. My sisters are both a lot older than me. One is 6 years older than me, the one that the other one is 10 years older than me. And so, I'm 10 years old, my other sister's 20.
Right.
But my mother had to go to work every day.
Mm-hmm.
And she didn't really want me sitting around the house. We couldn't afford for me to go to a summer camp and all that stuff.
Okay.
So summer job, she's talking to the lady who was on her. I would let her come down here a couple days a week, and she could be in the store with me. She'll do some stuff. Next thing I know, I'm collecting money. I'm answering phones, booking appointments. I'm stocking the shelves. I'm washing the laundry. I'm mopping. I'm sweeping. I'm running errands. 10 years old.
10 years old.
10 years old.
Wow.
And in addition to that, we talk about these new generation of children, who complain when they don't get a ride to school. I had to get up and go to school on my own. My mother had to be to work at 7 a.m. And she would knock on the door. Hey, have a good day. Get up. You got to go to school. I get up, get myself dressed, have some breakfast, and be to school on time. Walked by myself to school.
Wow.
15 minutes. To walk 15, 20 minutes to get over to school every morning, and 15, 20 minutes to come back home by myself, come home, wait for my mother to get in the house. I mean, at a young age.
Wow.
So, pardon me?
That's a lot. That's a lot the person had to do, but you do it and you make it seem so easy. That's the thing.
Exactly. But again, my mother taught me the resilience. I've seen the resilience in my mother. I've seen the resilience in my grandmother. I see it in all the women around us, right?
Right.
They teach you without telling you. They just show you by their behavior. And you step up and you be the next generation that steps and do the things that you need to do. So your childhood as a young black lady, a little child as a black person, your childhood moves away a lot faster than the childhood of others because you have to do some things differently and navigate the world differently. And you might not be able to spend that time in creativity and strategic thought that some others may get to experience because you have to navigate the world differently and learn the realities of life maybe earlier than some of your counterparts. Not all of them, because everybody in every demographic has to experience the world.
True.
But the level of protection a young black girl receives versus the protection of others is very different. And I don't think people even think about that, which gets us to the point of always recognizing how we care for others.
That's right. Wow. So, looking back from your HR leadership perspective, how does the economic vulnerability actually get created for Black women at work?
Honestly, it starts with the offer letter and the interview process, right? Um, we go into these. So depending upon a person's level, so there's our sisters who may be in more non-leadership type roles,
Okay.
and operational roles, and there are some places you go to, the job is you're going to make $15 an hour.
Okay.
And it is what it is in those spaces, and there's not really like much room to navigate in those spaces to network for what an offer is going to be for you.
Okay.
But then as you get to become professional level, executive level, and so forth in the creation and the development of your career, then it becomes much more complex. So there's a whole thing about navigating the negotiation of your salary.
Wow.
And so your offer letter, they're going to say, hey, this job pays $100,000, but John's making 125. Now you accept it because you're like, oh, I'm finally at 6 figures.
Yeah, you're excited.
Now, maybe let's just walk this through. Maybe you do really well and then you get promoted, and then the next thing you know, you're managing a team of people who used to be your colleagues. And then you see everybody's salaries. But why are there 3 people on your team who make more money than you? I think that happens to women in general, but in particular, Black women. It's the disparagement is huge. And so now you're in a position where like your company's looking at you funny, and they're like, oh, we'll have to work your way. We'll have to move you up, step by step, because they can't, because it's too much money to have to pay you to get you
there. Right.
Yeah. So it starts with the offer letter and just even understanding that. I mean, and it's the bias is just there, and people don't want to, are uncomfortable with talking about it. And it's because the art of negotiating your offer, my father who picked cotton didn't tell me how to do that.
Right.
Because he didn't know. Yeah. I didn't know I could negotiate. Right. Just for an example perspective, right? So you don't even know, and you're just excited that you got the job offer. And if it's about the lack of awareness of what the market is for the job. So if a sister is out there, you're trying to get a job and you're, negotiating, you need to understand what the market is. You can go out there and Google. We are using this, technology, leverage the technology in the right way. And sometimes it's just the urgency to secure a job. And you're just like, I need a job. Boom, I'm just going to take this job. And you say yes right away. And I remember the organization that I used to be in for women who worked in the industry when we reach. this woman, maybe early on, started this in like 2015, 2016. She talked about the fact that this woman was a senior executive and she was getting this job offer. And she said, I didn't really want the job. So I told them a number I didn't think that they would give to me. And she said, they quickly said yes. And she said, I could have asked for more. And there was no negotiation.
Right.
That was a powerful comment because this woman at that time probably was not in a place of having allies who might not have looked like her, or even a Black man who might have been in similar positions to say to her, these are the mechanisms of compensation. You're looking at your total package. You're not looking at these factors. You're looking at these X factors when you get to being a certain level. She didn't know what to negotiate. She just thought she was just doing something because she got more money than she thought they would. She just said, oh, they're not going to give me that. And there was no negotiation. They said yes right away, got that offer letter to that woman. Like we talked about before, being hired at the lower levels, the slow advancement, the financial implications to that, even if you do perform well enough that you get to be the one that's promoted, and then, they're paying more than you and you're the leader. And, the vulnerability also comes in the fact of how you're impacted by, people who are making decisions about you potentially in the long run. I think many people have been discussing lately that around 600,000 Black women have been sidelined from, full academic participation. And what does that mean? Yeah, it's about job loss, continued unemployment, and being exited by the labor force, or exited from the labor force. And I'll give you an example. I'm very well connected with people I used to work with over my career. And it's one woman who has a master's degree, years of experience, is working in retail right now.
Oh my goodness.
Because she needs a job.
Right.
Because they have bills to pay. So while the numbers may say, we're talking about 600,000, 600 is more than 600,000 because of the labor market right now. It's the fact that you keep hearing all these companies saying that they're laying off people. Right. Let's walk through what does that look like, right? You want to walk through that with me?
Yes.
Okay. And this can happen at any level, from the executive level to the lowest level of the company. But let's think about a middleman or let's think about an individual contributor.
Okay.
I'm going to put this example together. So, we'll call her Lisa for easy remembrance for me. Okay. So Lisa goes to this company, she starts working there. And, she's 2 years in the company. She's an individual contributor. She's doing okay. Her performance evaluations are good.
Okay.
Company is making decisions. Senior leader tells their team, I need each one of you to give me $1 million. Figure out how to do it.
Whoa.
So CEO tells his team, these people have teams of 100, 1,000 people in their organization. They have to find $1 million.
Gotta cut some people.
And so they just go, okay, all right, we got to figure out what's going on. Well, do we got any low performers? Maybe, maybe not. Oh, man, everybody's been performing. Everybody's been doing good. They start to look at the year-end assessments. And you did okay, but you weren't a rock star.
Right.
You didn't stand out. Lisa is just a name on a spreadsheet. Well, Lisa compared to everybody else, I mean, just, she's doing okay. She's not great. Anybody know Lisa? Nah. Okay, I think Lisa gonna be the one that I'm gonna put up to help get to that $1 million.
Right.
It's as simple as that. They don't know. Lisa's only been here 2 years. Lisa hasn't had time to build relationships with people. She's just really learning her job well enough.
Exactly.
Right? Now, Lisa, then this person who made this decision up here went to this person right here who looked at just some numbers.
My goodness.
And nobody knew who Lisa was. And now Lisa loses her job. It's the same with everybody, regardless of demographic.
True.
But that's one path. The other path is if this leader has to lay off, let's say this person has to say to get to their million, they have to lay off 10 people. To me, my observation, I have no data to prove this. My observation, but when you go, where did I say to you in the beginning of this? You go there and you tend to be the only person in your department.
Right.
If you're doing well, it's 2 of you. Man, if it's 3 of you, whoo!
Well, you're doing something. I know that's right.
So manager who has a whole organization to put together, if they got to let go of 10 people, and Lisa's the only Black person in the department, and Maria's in the department, they're the newer people. Nobody knows them.
That's
All
true.
they are to this guy and this woman up here, it's a name who just didn't seem like they're performing relative to others.
Wow.
Perception, not necessarily reality. Because the funny part is, right, because 25 years working in various companies, I've seen this and I'm like, like HR doesn't train you for this. Like going to college is not going to train you to see certain things.
Right, right.
Then all of a sudden experience, you go like, wait a second. So, and if you aren't culturally aware, you don't even pay, if you don't pay attention to it. It's just like, okay, we got to get this done.
True.
So HR doesn't, you're not trained to catch those things because all you have is a spreadsheet with names.
Data points. Wow.
And somebody's ratings and their behaviors. And you make you're helping people to try to make the right decision. Because, of course you're thinking, somebody's a poor performer or the lowest performer, but are they really the poorest performer? Or is it that you just didn't know the person? I'm going to give you another example. I just watched the television show streaming a couple of nights ago. And I don't know how it popped up, but God be having his plan, right? It's a show where they brought in 1,000 people. It's a reality show. They're competing to win like $5 million at the end of the show.
Okay.
They move forward with all these different challenges. And at a certain period of time, they get to 21 people, the top 21 people at this point in the show. About 6 Black women were in the top 21. And it came to this particular challenge where one person had to determine what 3 people that they liked the least. There are 6 Black women there. He had to pick 3 people. He picked 3 Black women.
Sure did, probably.
Out of the 6. And so, everybody was like, wait a second. Like,
Right.
What's going on here?
Exactly.
And his response was, I don't know you. I haven't had any conversations with you since we've been here.
Wow.
That's what that's the impact of sponsorship and those decisions that are made. Like he didn't know those 3 women. It was not quote unquote racism.
Right.
It was his lack of knowing who they were, not even able, again, to see the humanity of that person. He didn't know them. It had no, one of the sisters, they said, why do you think you were chosen? And one of the sisters said, this is the dichotomy of America.
Right.
Was it? It could have been. But in actuality, what he said is the reality of what sisters have to deal with on these jobs. They don't know you.
They don't know.
And if they don't know you, they're not comfortable with you. The reason we are in the political landscape we are right now is because people are uncomfortable.
Okay, that makes sense.
Right?
I can see that. Yeah, I can see that.
I'm uncomfortable with you because I don't know you. And we start working in a job. And we're like, I just want to do this job. I don't really want to be your friend. I just want to get these things done. I don't really need to go, But then we have to get to know people, because if you don't get to know people, you are vulnerable to decisions being made about you because you kept your head down and did work. And you weren't, quote unquote, friendlier. You weren't going to lunch. You weren't going out for drinks. You were just like, let me just get the work done.
Oh my goodness.
That's all I want to do is just get the work done. I'm going to knock it out the ballpark.
Right.
You can get results. That's part of it. And that's the game. You have to show a little bit of who you are so people can see you more fully. Um, and so when, addressing your question about, the impact in the rooms and the decision makers and so forth, this is where the impact comes in because they just don't know you.
Hmm.
Therefore, they don't know you. Eh? Nope. I've been laid off, and I'll tell somebody in a minute, like, it wasn't personal. It
Right.
was they have to restructure to deliver on the priorities of this business.
My goodness.
And in some situations, in many situations, they don't know you. And even if they do know you, um, it can help you. It'll help you.
True.
But it's like what's the dynamic around your name, your performance, your behaviors, etc. Because we there's a challenge that many of us
Hmm.
experience working in corporate America. One of the many challenges is our communication style, our directness, um, or passion is always described very differently when it comes to us. So we
Mhm.
always have to be thoughtful of our tone,
True.
right?
True.
And how do we challenge others in the room? Because we make people uncomfortable when we challenge. We make people uncomfortable when we are direct.
Hmm.
We make people uncomfortable when we pound our fist on the table. We make people uncomfortable when we show passion.
Hmm.
And it's like it's a double-edged sword because they give you feedback and they'll say, "Oh, you don't show passion." Because if I show passion, you're gonna ding me for it.
Amen.
So it's like you have to every day read the room and figure out, you still want to be your best, excellent self because you're taught as excellence, right?
That's right. That's right.
But you also like, "Ugh, I got to make sure everybody else feel comfortable."
Hmm. My goodness. So you have to juggle a very delicate balance with all of this, and you don't have any gray area to lean too much to the left or to the right. You have to keep those scales right. That's that in itself. That by itself is a job, not
That's
including you doing your job.
that's the weight.
That's a, my goodness.
It's a,
Do you offer, you know, just the things about sponsorship and keywords sponsorship and understanding how to navigate your salary, how to research the market to see what they're offering salary wise and that area where the job may be physically at. Do you offer like classes and stuff like that to educate up and coming um, men and women of color that this
Mhm,
is what you should do or at least consider
mhm.
when you get ready to go in and present yourself to these people? Do you offer something like that?
Yes, I'm very flexible with this. So I have my own consulting business,
Mhm.
SYW Strategies, and
Well, I know a few individuals that need to hear that, especially about understanding uh, how to present themselves
mhm,
in corporate America when they're trying to get these jobs. And
mhm,
like you said, you see that six figure, the 100,000 gets excited because no one's made six figures before. But then once you receive that and you take the offer and you begin to move forward in the position, and you go to find out that, you know, person B and person C are making $25,000 more than what you're making, you're like, wow. And then
mhm,
you story when the woman asked for a ridiculous number that she didn't think that they were going to agree with, and they agreed to it.
mhm.
Wow, could you only imagine with a little education on how to negotiate a salary where she could have ended up?
Mhm,
Um, when you look at if you look at bias,
mhm.
where does bias and comfort, where do they quietly meet to influence who is protected in a company who is not protected?
It's similar to what we've talked about.
Mm,
So, I'm going to talk to the person I'm most comfortable with.
There you go.
Right. And so that's your bias.
That's true.
And, as a leader, you have to challenge yourself. If you have to decide to challenge yourself and think about, oh, I don't have biases. Okay. When the last time you talked to somebody who was different than you?
Huh.
When's the last time you invited somebody to go golfing with you, or even maybe teach that woman golf? I don't know that I like golf, but some of my friends, Black women who are out there golfing
Yes.
because they enjoy it.
Yes.
But some of the women, they learn to golf because it's about playing the game of golf to be a part of the game. So, what common interest? One of the things that is important when you think about going into corporate America is commonality. So I was always at a disadvantage because I'm a single woman with no kids, no dogs. I'm allergic to dogs and cats. And that is people who are looking for a way to make a connection with you, for those who are actually trying. So you have to know who you are, know your story, and be able to articulate it to people in such a way that you are relatable, that they can make a connection with you. Because it really is about making a connection. And you have to understand the company that you're going to.
True.
Some companies more than others, like a relationship. Some companies, we call them relationship-oriented companies. If you can't build relationships with people, you literally can't get anything done.
That's true. I agree with that 100%.
And it is about people knowing who you are and knowing that you are really trying to deliver on and execute these projects. They know you wouldn't be here if you didn't have the capabilities, right? They know that part. But they also want to know, like, hey, do I like it? Interviews, if you get an interview with a job, and this is my opinion, I think when you get an interview with a job, they understand that you likely have the capabilities. They're going to test it out and ask you a few questions about the technical components and capabilities about the job. They know that you likely can do this job, but it's about likability and if I want to work with you every day.
Ooh, and that's terrible. I mean, that's a shame, but it's the truth. And you know what? I think also, Shamika, that we can look at these principles, not just active principles in corporate America, but in jobs, and you can be in a warehouse job. Anywhere there's employee-employer environment, I think these principles can be, utilized. My whole thing is just to empower and encourage and empower. That's all I want. I'm not doing this for clicks, clickbait, or anything like that. I can care less. I just want to know that even if it's only one person, if they get something out of it that will help them to progress in their life, then I feel like we have done our job. But listen, it's been wonderful. Thank you so much for coming on today.